We say in my language that Amarira atemba, which means that for men, our tears go within, meaning we're not supposed to show our emotions. And I want to express this, especially to black men everywhere. My brothers and sisters, especially my brothers. If you don't think you have emotions, you're basically saying you're a robot. Hello, my name is Kizito Musabimana, and I am the founder and executive director of the Rwandan Canadian Healing Center, which is now based at the Aka Village Hub, downtown Toronto. As many of you would know, this week is a mental health week awareness across Canada. And what I wanted to share is a topic that I think is important to the community, especially because many of us are going through many crises over the last 2 years. We are dealing with a major crisis in the community that many of us to this day have yet to know or understand best ways to deal with mental health in the African community particularly, but also in the black community across the board. As you know, the Rwandan Canadian Healing Center launched in 2018. We launched after, personally, I had done a walk, walking from Toronto to Montreal to raise awareness of PTSD and trauma within the Rwandan community. But we also wanted to share some of our learnings as a community, and more in particular for me, I wanted to share what I did to overcome, to recover from a lot of the challenges that I faced. So I went from being depressed to developing severe anxiety to, for almost 3 years, living with suicidal thoughts every day. I went from never drinking to drinking heavy alcohol, some of the ones that are like 65%, and drinking them straight. I went from never smoking a cigarette in my life to smoking 2 packs a day every day. I went from being a reserved young man to partying and doing things that were out of character. And I did all of that because I was trying to numb the noise that was going on in my head. I did all of that because every day was a battlefield. I had to survive every single day, every minute. I had to survive an interaction with colleagues, with family members, with friends. And in order to survive that, the best way to do it was to drink enough to numb myself, smoke enough to really find my way through the world. And at some point, I even took marijuana and so forth. The 3 years that I lived through where I was considering suicide raises the kind of sentiment that we're going through right now, where we are losing so many young people who have no hope. I was lucky to find hope, and that's a conversation we can have. But to get to the point of actually finding hope, I had to share. I had to share first with my friends. I had to share with people close to me. I had to share with the public. I had to be comfortable to allow people to see the ordeal that was happening internally. For many years, it was so difficult. And I know it's difficult for many of our people. We are not able to find a way to understand even what mental health is. We believe that once somebody says they are depressed, once somebody says they have an anxiety, we want to send them to the asylum because we think they are crazy. We don't see the journey that it takes for a person to go from where they are facing a hard time to getting severely depressed or having anxieties to being suicidal before they get to the worst. And even the worst that is, those are things that are treatable. But we are not opening up. We're not allowing ourselves as a community, as families, as friends, within our own bubbles and networks. We're not allowing ourselves to actually open up about it. We say in my language that, and I'm going to say it in Kinyarwanda, which is Amarira atemba, which means that for men, our tears go within, meaning we're not supposed to show our emotions. And I want to express this, especially to black men everywhere. My brothers and sisters, especially my brothers, if you don't think you have emotions, you're basically saying you're a robot. We all have emotions. We are supposed to care for those emotions. We're supposed to cater to those emotions like anything in the world. If you care for it, it's going to heal. If you don't, it's going to, over time, grow. It's going to grow how you care for it. It's going to grow as a bush or it's going to grow in order. Most of us don't cater to it and becomes a bush. The other example I could give is, imagine if you're putting air into a football and you keep putting air. At some point, that thing is going to explode. And that's what we're doing to ourselves. Things that we are supposed to cater to and deal with, but because we never allow ourselves to really talk about these things with our friends and with professionals, what happens over time? It's going to explode. And as it explodes, you're trying to drink, you're trying to smoke, you're trying to do any and everything to just numb those thoughts, those terrible thoughts that we think are terrible. But it's your body's way of saying you need to address this emotion, you need to address this thought, you need to address what's going on. But many of us don't know how to. And when we choose to open up, the community doesn't know how to deal with it because there is so much stigma around mental health and trauma. There's so much stigma around what depression is or what anxiety is and other severe mental health symptoms. So how do we as a community, because this is not an individual issue, this is a community issue, how do we come together to address these issues that are definitely prevalent in our community, both in the black community, but most especially in the African community, especially within the newcomer community. So I really wanted to talk about this as we go through this mental health week. I want us to remember that it takes a village should not be just a slogan. When we say it takes a village as Africans, we should live it. When we say Ubuntu or Ubuntu in Kinyarwanda, it's I am my brother's keeper, I am my sister's keeper. We are supposed to look out for one another. Looking out for one another also means understanding one another. And right now, I'm sorry to say, but within the African community, we overall do not understand the people that are going through the worst severe mental health challenges. And I challenge us to do that. I challenge us to understand. I challenge us to read on these topics. I challenge us to do more than we have done. Because we're losing many people. They are literally dying. As I said, we've lost many members over the last 2 years, many of whom are very new to Canada, that are not even here for 6 months, and they have died because we've failed as a community. And I'm calling on all of you to join us in the effort of raising awareness around mental health issues and really finding a way to opening conversations. And then, of course, if we can do more than that and bringing clinicians to do even deeper work around that issue, that's what we need to do. But what we cannot afford to do today, tomorrow, and in the future until we change the trend, what we cannot afford to do is nothing.